He told me not to wear my low-cut dress, but I just bought it, so I wore it when I got back home. I got served divorce papers over the dress I wore to an event. Up till now, I still can't get over what has happened between my husband and I. I find it hard to believe a simple dress could ruin my marriage. Funny thing is, the dress wasn't as bad as my husband claimed it to be. Hello, Redditors. This troubled lady here is literally crying for help right now because I'm confused. My name is Anna, and I am a 26-year-old entrepreneur and coffee shop owner. Well, my husband got the place for me, but right now I own no right to the shop. It was one of the things my husband used to teach me a lesson when I, according to him, disobeyed him for wearing the dress he told me not to wear. I'm really hurt at the moment because my shop is one of the things that not only earns me money, but also keeps me going. The thought of no longer being in charge of the coffee shop makes me want to lose my mind. I still can't believe that my husband could do that to me. Talking about my husband, his name is Billy, and he's a 28-years-old male. He's an entrepreneur as well. He's into a lot of businesses. Billy and I have been married for 2 years. I know you all are shocked to hear that. 2 years is too early to get a divorce. But my husband's mind was already made up. Though we're currently in the divorce process. But from the look of things, it's so difficult to change Billy's mind. I've known Billy for 3 years and know how serious he could be whenever he made up his mind to do something. Most especially when he tells you to do something and you do otherwise. His decisions after that are final. But guys, don't you all think I deserve a second chance, considering the fact that we're both married and I'm his wife? Or was my crime too big to be forgiven? I still love my husband and I want to get back with him. I know it will sound selfish saying this, but I can't really do without my husband. Billy takes very good care of me. He provided everything I wanted even before I asked for it. My husband knows what I need at a particular time. I'm so used to that already, and I don't know if any man can fit into that. It would be so difficult finding a man who puts you first in everything he does. Billy was that type of man. I got so used to how my husband took care of me that I found it hard to manage alone. Right now I'm not with Billy. He chased me out of the house, and now I find it really hard to stay on my own because I can't really do the things my husband did for me. The most heartbreaking thing is that I didn't even notice any of it until now. Now I understand the saying that says, you don't know the value of something until you lose it. I lost mine before I knew how valuable it was. Waking up to someone who you can trust with everything in you is really such a blessing in disguise. I was safe with my husband, but I can't say the same for him because I wasn't good enough for Billy. My husband was such a nice and caring husband. I'm so ashamed of myself right now knowing that I let loose on that type of man. Hearing Billy telling me how disgusted he was about me broke my heart. My husband has never looked at me with a spiteful eye until now. I have never seen my husband look at me in that way before. I really brought out the best in Billy, guys. I would be the biggest fool on earth if I say disobeying my husband was not intentional. It was because I was so annoyed that my husband wanted to decide for me what to wear and what not to. I felt so embarrassed. Yes, Billy is my husband, but that doesn't give him that right to decide for me when it comes to my body. I put on whatever I feel like I'm comfortable in, most especially if I spent so much on getting the outfit. I don't tell Billy what clothes he should put on. What gives him that right to decide for me? Yes, he is my husband, but there are limits to what he can do. Asking me to not wear a particular dress was one of them. I didn't find it funny that day Billy asked me not to wear a dress I had planned to wear to an event. My husband and I got into an argument about it. I get the fact that we both were angry, but that hasn't gotten to him serving me divorce papers. My husband and I have argued and disagreed before, and we settled things after each argument. But this one was different. It took a different dimension, and my husband was not ready to forgive me. The thought of getting a divorce over a mere dress I was asked not to wear sounds crazy to me. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. Everyone that has heard about what happened between me and my husband seemed to take his side. A lot of people have told me that my husband had every right to be angry. But guys, does that warrant a divorce? Okay, fine, I accept that I was wrong and I have apologized several times. But my husband seemed difficult and strong-headed. I would be the happiest if Billy can have a change of mind about his decision. Life without my husband is boring. Right now, I can't pay any of my bills because I got used to Billy doing all of that for me. I didn't know that things would turn out this way. I never thought that my husband and I would get to a stage where we will go through the process of getting a divorce. Like, guys, Billy and I have come a long way to really back down now. Do I regret what I did? Yes, I did with all my heart. I really wished I could make things right again. I still love Billy, there's no doubt about that. Let's just say my pride got the best part of me. Disobeying my husband was one thing I didn't plan on doing. I really messed up big time. On second thought, guys, I think my husband overreacted to my dress. The dress I got wasn't as bad as Billy made it look. I got a low-cut, simple gown. I got the dress for one of my friend's 25th birthday party. It was a birthday party that I couldn't miss out on because the celebrant was so dear to me. Her name is Karen. Karen and I have come a long way, and I couldn't miss her 25th birthday party for nothing. Karen and her have been friends right from childhood, guys. Growing up, I had just two friends, Karen and Celine. They were my best friends, and we went to the same schools together right from childhood. Yes, our parents were just neighbors, and they also were best of friends. So, guys, Celine's 25th birthday was around the corner, and I had been looking forward to it. In fact, I was part of the planning committee because why not? It was my best friend's party. I looked forward to the party not just because it was my childhood friend's birthday party, but because I was going to meet most of my friends and schoolmates that I hadn't seen for a very long time. The thought of that made me really excited, and I just couldn't wait for the party. So guys, the party was an all-pink party because Celine loved pink. And so, it was mandatory for all of her friends to present the theme of the day. So guys, when the day of the party drew closer, I went shopping for the outfit I was going to wear for Celine's party. One thing led to another that day. I had to go shopping alone. Celine and Karen were caught up with work, and we had to do a separate shopping by ourselves. I know what you all would be thinking if my friends didn't tell me if the dress I wore was too revealing or not. Well, no, they didn't. They were my friends, but they can't tell me what and what not to wear. That's the same way I can't also decide what they put on. It's a free world, guys. You can do whatever you feel like doing for so long you are happy with it at the end of the day. But I wasn't too happy with the decision I made that night because it had cost me a lot. I did not only lose my marriage, but also my best friend. Billy was the first person I had ever dated that had my best interest at heart. The few guys that I had been with before I met Billy were only there to play and go, but Billy was different from all the guys that I had dated. Another major reason my husband was skeptical about me attending the party with the dress I had worn that day was because my last ex, who was also one of my childhood friends, was also coming for the party, and so Billy didn't want me to show up like that. My husband felt like me showing up at the party with that type of dress looked like I was trying to impress my ex, and that was so disrespectful to him because he couldn't understand why a married woman like me would want to show up to a birthday party with a revealing dress knowing that my ex-boyfriend was going to be there. Truth be told, guys, I didn't choose that dress to impress my ex-boyfriend. In fact, I got to know about my ex attending the party a few days before the event. My friends didn't let me know on time because they didn't know how I was going to react when they told me. My ex-boyfriend's name is Luke. Luke and I didn't end up together because we weren't compatible. We argued and disagreed a lot, and I wasn't ready to settle down with someone like that, and so we ended things. Let's say the relationship was a little bit toxic. So guys, my friends were skeptical about letting me know about Luke coming because they knew how things ended between us. They didn't want to discourage me from attending the party. That was why they kept it from me for that long. When I finally got to know about it, I acted normal and wasn't too bothered about it. Of course, my friends were allowed to make friends with whomever they liked aside from us. Luke and Celine's boyfriend were best of friends, and there was no way Luke would want to miss such an important person's party. Of course not. And I also didn't want to be a stumbling block from stopping any from coming or running someone's birthday party over something that was in the past. So guys, prior to the argument that my husband and I had over a dress, our marriage was not even perfect. Let's just say it was on rocky ground, and the dress was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like I said earlier, Billy and I argued about lots of things, but always settled it at the end of the day. But the dress was the straw that finally broke the bond we had. My husband was just too hurt to accept the fact that I disobeyed him. That day of the event, I was very excited to attend the party with Billy. My husband never liked any of my friends because he thought they were a bad influence on me, but for some reason he wanted to go with me to the party. As much as he didn't like them, he never sent them away anytime they came visiting. I didn't understand why my husband disliked my friends the way he did. Sometimes Billy and I have had issues about them. In fact, most of the arguments we had were majorly because of them. But I never told Karen and Celine about it because it wasn't that much of a big deal. Most of the time they visited, Billy was never around, but my husband knew that they always came around. So guys, a day to the party, Billy proposed to going with me to the party. Of course, I was excited that my husband wanted to hang out with my friends. He had never done that before and I looked forward to it. At least he would get to know the type of friends they were to me instead of misjudging them to be a bad influence. When I told Karen and Celine about Billy coming with me, they were also excited. In fact, they couldn't wait to receive him. So guys, the day of the party arrived and I tried my best not to go late. The party was on a Friday night that only meant one thing, right? Yes, we were to party all night together. I didn't tell my husband that part because he would not agree to go with me if I had told him, and I didn't want him to stop me from going because Billy never liked an all-night party. My husband is safe to say that he's antisocial. Billy had few friends, and they were all business partners. He never had the time to make friends outside work. So guys, that night, when I was done putting on my dress, I made way to put some shoes on before my husband saw what I was wearing. He was getting out of the shower when he saw me. Immediately, Billy saw me. He asked what was the type of stupid dress I had on. He asked if that was not what I planned wearing out to the party, because if that was the dress, then I wouldn't go anywhere. At that moment, I was a bit distracted with what type of shoes I should pair with the dress, and so I didn't pay full attention to what Billy was saying. When Billy saw that I didn't hear what he told me, he came closer to me and asked me if I didn't hear what he was saying or if I had suddenly turned deaf that I couldn't hear him. I just turned to Billy with the two options I had in mind and asked him to choose a pair for me that I would wear to the party because I was a bit confused with which to choose. Billy looked at the shoes and threw them to the bed. Guys, at that point I was a bit offended by what my husband did and asked him why he did that. Billy told me that he could see that I was crazy that he was talking to me, and I had the audacity to do it like he wasn't talking to me. I told Billy that I was a bit distracted with the shoes and asked him to repeat all that he was saying. I also told my husband that even though I wasn't paying attention to whatever he was saying to me at that moment, that didn't give him the right to react the way he did when I asked about his opinion on the shoes. My husband ignored what I was saying and told me that if I was done ranting, I should go over to the wardrobe and change the rags I was putting on because there was no way I would be going out with him dressing like that. It was then I realized what Billy was telling me when I was lost in my own thoughts about what shoes to put on. Immediately I realized that I asked Billy what was wrong with what I was wearing. My husband told me that everything was wrong if I was blind to see it. He told me that the dress was too revealing, very short and skimpy to be worn to a birthday party. Billy asked if it was a birthday party I was going to or a club. I told Billy that there was no way I was going to change to another outfit because I got the dress at a high rate and I planned on wearing it to the party whether he liked it or not. I also told Billy that the dress represented the theme of the party and I wasn't ready to look different from those that were coming. Billy replied and said that everything was cleared to him at that moment. He said I had bought the dress just so I could impress my ex-boyfriend with it because I knew that he would be around. I interrupted my husband and told him that I wasn't trying to impress anyone with what I was putting on. My husband and I continued the back and forth over the dress I was wearing. Billy made it known to me that he didn't like the dress and asked me not to step out of the house with it. I was not doing what my husband asked me to do. I couldn't understand why Billy had a problem with my choice of dress. Nothing he said that night made me change my dress. The dress was really expensive, and I had no plans of pulling it off just because Billy was not comfortable with me wearing it to the party. I also couldn't understand what my husband said about me trying to impress my ex. I had no idea that look was going to be around, not until at the last minute. I had gotten the dress before I knew about him coming. What I saw at that moment was Billy feeling jealous and insecure. Guys, because of the back and forth we had, my husband changed his mind about going to the party. He got angry that night and said he wouldn't go to the party with me looking like that. I told Billy that I cared less if he would come or not, and I left the house even after he warned me not to go out with that dress. So guys, I went to the party with that same dress. On my way there, my friends kept calling and texting me to know why I had taken so long to arrive. I didn't reply to any of their messages or respond to any of the calls. The reason was that I wasn't in my right frame of mind to talk. When I got to the venue, I tried not to let the argument my husband and I had ruin my night. I planned on having fun with my friends and nothing was going to stop me from doing that, so I went into the party with that mindset. When I stepped inside the hall, I discovered that I was a bit late, all thanks to my husband. I checked what time it was and I realized that I was indeed late. I noticed at that moment that everyone was staring at me. My dress was just too beautiful for anyone to take their eyes away. I knew that I looked stunning. I searched around for Karen and Celine and I found them within a few seconds. My friends complimented the dress and told me how beautiful it was on my body. Just at that moment, they asked me what had kept me up for that long and why I wasn't taking any of their calls and texts. Karen and Celine also asked about Billy. They wanted to know if he was going to come or not. I had to come up with something believable just so they wouldn't stress further. I told them that I got caught with some chores at home and apologized for ignoring their calls because I didn't want to bore them with my excuses. I also told them that my husband wouldn't be coming that night because he had some work to attend to. My friends felt concerned about that and wished Billy was there. While my friends and I were having that conversation, someone tapped me on my shoulder. Immediately I turned to see who it was, and it turned out to be Luke, my ex. I wasn't surprised seeing him at the party, but was surprised and was even shocked that he walked up to me. Luke said hello to me and I did the same. At that moment, Karen and Celine made an excuse to have something to do and left Luke and I to talk. I knew they were lying and didn't try to stop them. After they left, Luke and I had some few seconds of silence. Luke finally broke it when he complimented my dress. I thanked him and he asked if we could find a place to sit and talk for a few minutes. I agreed immediately and we headed over to the bar stand. We sat there for a few minutes and talked about some random things. It was really awkward, I won't lie, guys. For some reason, I was anxious when Luke and I were talking. At that time, Luke was also doing well for himself. Our relationship was cordial and nothing more. Luke also knew that I was married and asked after my husband, which I told him that we were fine and happy together. After a few minutes of talking together, Luke asked if we could take some pictures together, and I agreed immediately. We took some intimate pictures together, and it felt like the way we usually do when we were still together. I had fun at the party with Luke and my friends. At that time, I totally forgot everything that happened between my husband and I. The night went well, and I didn't jeopardize my happiness over the little argument Billy and I had. Of course, I was upset with Billy that he refused to go with me to the party over a dress I refused to change. What pissed me up so much was the fact that he made a big deal out of nothing. So guys, when I saw that the night was getting darker, I decided to leave. At that time, it was a few minutes to 1 o'clock the next morning. The party was to end a few hours later, but I couldn't wait until the end. I told my friends that I wanted to leave because I was a bit tired and somehow tipsy at that moment, and also my husband was waiting for me. They didn't try to stop me, and I left them to continue the fun. Before I left, Luke asked if he could get my contact so he could send all the pictures we took together. I agreed and gave him my contact. Before I stepped out of the party, he had sent me a text just so I would get his contact. I saved the number with his name, which was Luke. I also saw a few missed calls from Billy. My phone was silent all through the party and didn't know that my husband was trying to reach me. At that moment, I already knew why he called. He was calling to know why I hadn't returned home at that hour. I didn't bother calling him back because I didn't see the need. Like I said, I was already planning on leaving before I saw his calls. It was when Luke sent me the text that I saw his calls. I went home with the thought of going to have some rest after the long night I had. I was very tired and at the same time tipsy. All I needed at that moment was to take a shower and get some rest. When I got back home, I tried to open the door with the passcode, but it wasn't opening. I was told the PIN was incorrect and I kept struggling to remember it. After a few trials and the door not opening up, I knocked for Billy to open it. All the time I was trying to open the door, my husband was awake but didn't open up. In fact, Billy was fully awake. He usually worked late hours. I picked my phone and called him to open the door for me, but he didn't pick up. I kept pounding on the door very hard to get Billy's attention. I pleaded with him to open the door because I was really tired and wanted to have some rest. For a few minutes I stayed at the door and didn't hear anything from Billy. After some time, he came closer to the door from inside and told me to go back to wherever I was coming from at that hour. Billy told me that he asked me not to wear the dress I had on but still disobeyed him. He told me that he wasn't going to open the door. I told Billy not to bring up the argument we had up at that time, that we could settle it after I had rested. At that point, I wanted to go inside and rest. My husband said I should have fun resting outside. Guys, my husband didn't open the door for me. I spent the night at our front porch. I had no other option but to spend the night there. It was pretty late at that moment and I couldn't go anywhere. At some point I wanted to go to the hotel to spend the night, but I couldn't because I didn't want to complicate things further. If I had gone to a hotel, Billy might suspect that I was going to meet a man there. I was really heartbroken that my husband allowed me to spend the night outside. It wasn't as comfortable as it would be if I had slept on my bed. I know you all would ask why I didn't call any of my friends to come take me to their place. Well, I couldn't because I don't used to discussing anything that happened in my marriage with them. There was a boundary to what I should tell them. My friends also never asked me anything about it because it wasn't any of their business. Any argument I had with Billy, we also settled it within ourselves without involving any third party. I thought to myself that calling Karen and Celine to come pick me up that night might complicate things further between Billy and I, coupled with the fact that Billy never liked them. That was one of the major reasons I made up my mind to spend the night outside. It wasn't comfortable, guys. I was scared all through. I was literally alert at every interval. A few hours later, it became clearer. I got to the house a few minutes to 1 a.m., so I slept outside for 5 hours before I was able to get inside. That was only possible when my husband stepped out to throw the trash away. When I heard him opening the door, I got up from where I had slept and prepared myself to go inside immediately. At that moment, I was ready to struggle with Billy if he tried not to let me in. But luckily for me, he didn't struggle. He saw me that morning and looked away. When I got inside, I went straight to the bed because my eyes were swollen because of lack of sleep. I slept for a few hours before I finally got up from the bed. When I woke up, I saw a lot of text messages from Luke. Most of the messages he sent were the pictures we took together at the party. The pictures were nice and also provocative. One would think that Luke and I were couples. Luke and I chatted for a few minutes before I finally got into the shower to wash up. After that day, Billy and I gave each other an attitude. The silent treatment lasted for a few days, and I was not even bothered about it. I didn't know that my husband was up to something when he gave me the silent treatment. He was really upset with me that I ended up wearing that dress to the party. I thought making me spend the night outside would end everything, but I was wrong. I never knew that my husband was selling all of my most expensive outfits and jewelry on Amazon without my knowledge. I knew that everything was not okay between Billy and I, but I never imagined that my husband could go to that extent just to get back at me. All my clothing and accessories were all sold out. At first, I didn't know what was happening, not until one day I noticed that my clothes were getting missing and my wardrobe was also getting empty. I even suspected the laundry service I usually get my clothes washed and ironed. That was the only thing that made sense to me at that time. What even got me more shocked was when I got to work that day to see my coffee shop closed down permanently, and also the shop was put for sale. At first, I thought maybe it was a prank or something, or I was hallucinating stuff, but I wasn't. The most surprising part of it was that none of my staff were at work that day. Usually, I always went to the shop on my own time. So, coming to the shop at past 10 in the morning and not meeting anyone there was surprising. If they had been around, there was no way they wouldn't have given me a heads up about it. I was curious to know why none of my employees were there. I picked up my phone to call my assistant, but she rejected the call. It even got to a point that the line wasn't going through again. I didn't know that my husband settled all of my employees and paid them for the month's work before sending them off. Billy also told them not to pick up my call if I tried calling them. They knew why I was calling them that day, but they didn't pick up because they were instructed not to, and also they were bribed by Billy. That morning, I was so frustrated. What got me more pissed was when my husband wasn't picking up any of my calls. I sent him a text message that day to come see what was happening, even though Billy and I weren't on talking terms. But my husband never cared to call back or respond to any of my messages. I drove back home that morning furiously. At that time, I knew that I would meet my husband at home because he worked from home during that period. On getting home, I met my stuff outside the house. The most heartbreaking part of everything was that I didn't expect Billy to treat me that way. Most of my things were missing, and I later discovered Billy sold off everything. Seeing all my stuff outside made me more angry, so I called out to Billy and tried opening the door, but it was locked. After a few minutes, my husband came out and told me that he was done with the marriage and that I should pack up my stuff and leave his house. He didn't even allow me to say anything about the coffee shop. It was there he told me everything he did for disobeying to wear a low-cut dress to that party. Billy also said he sold all my outfits on Amazon because he got them with his money, and he was the one that closed down my coffee shop. At that moment, I couldn't believe that Billy had gone to that extent to punish me, his wife, over a dress that I bought with my own money. It was heartbreaking for me to know that my husband emptied my wardrobe just to prove his point. The aftermath of that is still affecting me till this day. I don't even have enough clothes to put on like I used to. The low-cut dress that caused the fight was torn into pieces by Billy. Selling my clothes and accessories without my consent wasn't enough for him. He also had to destroy most of my things just to get back at me. I was shocked and surprised to know that Billy was not a human, but a beast. It's only a beast that would have no conscience at how. I couldn't say a word to Billy because I was angry at that moment. Billy mentioned that he went through my phone and read the chats with my ex and saw all the provocative pictures we took together, and he said those pictures and chats, coupled with the fact that I disobeyed him to wear that dress, was enough for him to deal with me. My husband told me that the divorce papers would be really within a few weeks, and it would be good if I signed them, and he slammed the door in my face. Guys, it's been 2 weeks now and the divorce papers are ready. We are currently about to get in the divorce process, and I can already feel that the divorce is not going to be in my favor. I would like you all to advise me on what to do that would make my husband change his mind. I'm not ready to be a divorcee, and my marriage is too young to be dissolved. Update. It's been a year and I'm back with an update. I didn't want to do this anymore because none of you were ready to help me. Most of you all were on my husband's side and even praised him for what he did to me. Anyway, that's in the past now. And even though I hold a grudge, I'll update you guys anyway. So the divorce wasn't in my favor, and I didn't have any tangible thing from it. Billy and I have gone our separate ways, and he has moved on with his life while I'm here struggling to do the same. Everything I had has now been taken away from me. My coffee shop never returned to me because the shop was bought in my husband's name, and so it belongs to Billy, and I have no right to claim it. I was also not compensated with my belongings that were damaged by Billy. My ex-husband was so smart in dealing with me, guys. I have nothing to do to earn money at the moment. Starting all over again from scratch is very challenging for me. I was relaxed with the coffee shop and handled it anyhow because I never imagined that my husband would take it away from me. If anyone had told me that Billy and I would go our separate ways after 2 years of marriage because of a dress that I wore to a birthday party, I would laugh in their face and tell them they were joking. My life is a mess right now, and I'm trying so hard to rebuild myself, but it's not easy. I would be the biggest liar if I say I don't regret what I did. I regret it so much, and I'm not proud of it. But I can't beat myself up too hard about it, though. It's been a year, and I should try and move on just like Billy did.